grandest of them all, leaving your mama fall for Grandmaster Caz, Boogie Down Bronx. Hip hop is in my DNA. Okay? That's right. Say it. First of all, salute to all the honorees up here. Make some noise for each and every person up here on this panel right now. Okay, and I'm going to start with you. Hurby, Lovebug, legendary producer, responsible for a lot of the music up on this table and in the whole table of hip-hop. My brother, first question. We want you to talk about your earliest memories of hip-hop and when you first witnessed it. What got you in?
You know, it's funny that you're the one asking me that question because my first live hip-hop show, now I'm from Queens, so is Play, we're from Queens, New York, most of us are. And so we got the music after the fact. And we kept listening for the newest OJ tape that comes down, and that's how we got the music, right? So one day, a friend of mine who knows you, his name is Miguel Guerrero, he was in a group of mine called the Super Lovers, told me about a show that was being done at the Ecstasy Garage. So I'm like, yo, that's the train, that's the Bronx. I don't know if it's Bronx or Upper Manhattan. I've never done that before. I'm like 14 at the time. And so I said, okay, let's go. He said he's gonna come with me. For some reason, he couldn't go. So I'm like, no, I'm going. I'm ready, I'm going. So I jump on the train, get lost, ended up in the Audubon Ballroom. Right? And it's some other.
You know, the Audubon Ballroom is in Harlem. It's in a whole nother borough. How you get from going to the Ecstasy Garage to the Audubon?
Obviously, I caught the wrong train. Right? I never caught the train. So some other kid, I don't know where I met this kid, he said he was going to the Ecstasy Garage. I'm like, all right, cool. So we go down to the Ecstasy Garage. Now, I brought a portable tape recorder because I had to be the first in my neighborhood with the new joints. So here I'm getting online and they start saying no tape recorders. And I had to go hide my joint in some bushes and then came back. But still, when I came back, I seen people coming through there with their tape recorders. So I ran back, got my joint, hid it under my jacket. I came through, and it was you performing with a group called Master Don in the Death Committee. Yeah. And so you was by yourself. It was, the Coke Crush wasn't there. It was a long time ago. And I heard you rapping, and I taped you. So it was my first introduction. Kind of long, but that's the first time it was with you.
Still got the tape?
Nah.
You could have got a few dollars.
eBay.
All right,
That's great.
So Play. I remember the first time I heard you guys were the Fresh Force. You had the Skeezer joint, which is like a play on my Adidas. And this is before the name was Getting Play. But tell me how you and Kid met and how you secured that first record deal with Sutra, which was Fat Boy's label as well.
Kid and I were in separate crews. That's what we called it back in the days. Kid was with a group called the Turnout Brothers that Ron Lawrence was one of the members as well. Hurby and I were in the same group called Quicksilver and the Super Lovers, where the Miguel he speaks of, we all had legendary lovers' names. We was always about shows. We had to have a theme, a gimmick, so it was about being legendary lovers. So you had Hurby the Love Bug, Playboy, Prince Charm, Romeo, and the list goes on, and Quicksilver, amazing DJ. So as life kicks you in the pants, and you see those old, the story of the Temptations and how people after a while ain't making any money, so they're like, we ain't going nowhere with this, so I'm just doing the edited version. Kid and I were the two left standing. At the time, Hurby was being successful with a group y'all might have heard of by the name of Salt and Pepper. At the time, they weren't Salt and Pepper, they were called Super Nature. So they were doing their thing, and Kid and I decided to create a group together. Back then, the names and phrases was fresh. That's dope. You know, all that kind of stuff like that. So we call ourselves Fresh Force, produced by Lenny Brown, Richard Ahi, and Charlie Casanova. So the big thing was doing what you call parody records. Run DMC had My Adidas, so we made a record called My Skeezer. A skeezer back then was another name for a groupie. We had Rock Me off of Falco's Rock Me Amadeus. So the list goes on. So we were making some noise in the tri-state area. And ended up on Sutra Records with the Fat Boys, Art Cass, I think that was his name that owned it. And came time for Hurby, I guess he had an itch. I think came time for Hurby having an itch. Can you hear me? 1, 2. Hurby had a,
Start all over.
So Hurby had an itch, I guess, and people were eager to want to know what his next creation was going to be. And he chose Kid and I, and we changed the name. We went over to Select Records and became Kid and Play. I didn't know why my name had to be last. I'm like, why's my name last? Why can't it be Play and Kid? They got over with me. Oh, because more things rhyme with play than with kid. I'm like, get out of here. Okay. So we kept it moving. So I hope I answered the question.
All right, next question is for you, Sweet Tea. Okay, question, yeah, claps up, claps up. Sweet Tea, what was the first hip hop that you saw or heard, and which MCs influenced you early?
So, 1, 2,
Yeah, they'll know, Mike.
1. I don't know if you can.
Sing that for Sweet Tea.
1. 2.
Listen. That's right, pass the mic. 1. Can you hear me? Okay. So, when I was younger, we had a club around the you can't hear me?
Yeah, she need more volume on her mic.
Check.
1. Can you hear me now? So there was a club that they built like around the corner from my house on Merrick Boulevard. And I heard about this girl named Sha Rock, and I wanted to see her perform. So I was not old enough to get in this club. And I also had a curfew that wouldn't even allow me to stay long enough to see her perform. So I ultimately snuck in the club and got in trouble, got on punishment, but I got to see Sha Rock perform, which was inspirational for me to see like a female MC on stage. Plus, there was a lot of crews with her, and like the whole hip hop vibe was like so dope. And I knew that was something I wanted to be a part of.
All right, next question is for Antoinette. You were known as a battle MC even before the records. From what I hear, you were battling males and females. And outside of the fact that that was the element of MCing, what was it that kind of gave you that competitive spirit early on? What drove that?
Well, I think that I was always competitive. Can you hear me?
Any of the mics work?
It's the sound guys.
Mike, give me. One mic.
Two.
I honestly think that I always had a competitive spirit in me. But growing up, when I started rapping, I was always in ciphers, and it was always a lot of guys. So I had to contend with the guys, and I had to keep up. So with that in mind, I always had to make sure I was writing, make sure my writing skills were up to par. And in school, we used to battle in the lunchroom, banging on the lunchroom table. We used to battle in the schoolyard and in the parking lot, banging on cars. And at that time, we had to, because I'm from the Bronx, so we had girls coming from different high schools looking for girls to battle. right, and stuff like that. So I went to DeWitt Clinton High School, and I remember battling some girls from Morris High School. So when I first started, it wasn't just me. I was with another girl named Antoinette and a girl named Sharon who also did the beatbox. And we was called the Feminine Force. So I started with them, and then we kind of fell apart, arguing and stuff, nonsense. And I remember talking to Fat Doug, because he played a big major role in helping me get a record deal and everything. Without him, I wouldn't be here. And I recall talking about the other girl named Antoinette, and I was like, she got an attitude. He said, you don't? And that's when I started working on I Got an Attitude. Okay. And it all happened. But I was always competitive, and like I said, in ciphers with guys and stuff. So growing up with predominantly males, it was destined for that to happen.
Dope. Great.
Say that. At the foundation of this microphone thing for all of us as MCs, rappers, whatever you want to call us, to test our skill against other people who say that they do what we do. You know what I mean? And it's all in the name of hip hop. All right? For you, the boy genius, Kwamé.
Peace. What up?
As a self-contained musician, producer, and MC, what were your earliest non-hip hop musical influences? And who and what made you want to become an MC?
Well, my musical influences are Stevie Wonder, Prince, of course Prince. And the reason why I named those two the most, and Quincy, and I know that these are like benchmark names, but for me, it meant something else. So as a kid, I'm buying records. I'm buying songs. I didn't buy Songs of the Key of Life. I had Songs of the Key of Life in the house, Innovisions, Talking Book. That's my Bible. Talking Book, Innovisions, Songs of the Key of Life is my musical Bible. And when I look at the liner notes and I'm reading lyrics and I'm reading things that would say recorded, produced, arranged, and performed by Stevie Wonder, or I would turn, my first Prince album is 1999 that I bought, and I'm looking at it and I see the same thing with Prince. So for me, I thought that's what you had to do. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to do music. I always wanted to rap, but I always wanted to do music. I couldn't sing, so I knew I had to rap. So I would see those notes and I would look at that. And then I looked at the work of Quincy Jones. I was always really studying as a kid. And Quincy wasn't just the guy who made Thriller. For me, Quincy made the theme to Sanford and Son. To me, Quincy did the stuff with the jazz and Frank Sinatra and all these musical scores, the Wiz, Ironside. So I'm like, that's the producer I want to be. I didn't want to be just in that one zone. So, getting that knowledge, man, that was the thing that was very important to me as a kid. And as far as hip hop goes, my first MC that inspired me was Melly Mel, hands down. And the reason why is because for me, I'm a 7-year-old, 6-year-old kid, and I hear, first it was Wonder Mike, and then it was Melly Mel. When Freedom came out, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was the 6th member of the Furious 5. There was no way I was Grand Master Kwame Kwam. I was gonna be in the Furious 5. I was gonna sneak to the Bronx. I used to live in the Bronx, so I figured I can just get on the train and find my way. I was gonna find you. I was gonna find Melly Mel. But I would call, our stations in New York was WBLS and WKTU. And as a kid, literally, I would call these stations every day. I need to hear Freedom. I need to hear Freedom. And I would make pause tapes. So anytime you would hear Freedom would flash with that, I would pause it. Next hour. I was making pause tapes, mixtapes. And so people like Carlos De Jesus and Frankie Crocker, they literally knew it was me calling. They were like, Kwame, we know you want to hear Freedom. I'm like, I need to hear Freedom. I gotta finish my pulse tape. So that to me, that was my injection into hip hop.
Incredible.
I was gonna find you, Kaz.
All right, Hurby. Two-part question for Hurby. First part is, when did you realize that you had business acumen? And did you actually have any business endeavors before music? That's the first one. And what was it that made you see that this music could go further than the boroughs? It seems like you always had that kind of vision that you could get this music more commercially accessible while keeping it authentic. So how'd you, the business acumen and then getting the music outside of New York?
Okay, the business side of the music business came from, I would say, a trade school I went to. And this is the same trade school that I was doing a project in that became Salt-N-Pepa's first single. It was called Center for the Media Arts. And it was a audio school, teach you how to engineer. I wanted to be an engineer, a sound engineer. And there was also a business part that taught you about publishing, copyright, and stuff like that. So yeah, I didn't think much of it, but later I always hear nightmare stories about artists getting robbed back in the days of Motown. But we weren't up to that yet, you know. I don't know what Sylvia did to Sugar Hill, or Enjoy, okay? Cass can explain that to you, but I wasn't part of that. So, skip to my first record deal. First thing I said is, your points are whack. I'm not having 3 points on anything. I thought I was doing something by asking for 13. You know, wow, 13 points, but nobody got 13, right? So I got 13 points, and no, you can't have my publishing. Most I can give you is half. So I knew from school that this is something. And I also knew by their reaction that this is something I gotta have. Because if you want my publishing, what does it mean? You're gonna give me $100 for an envelope that I don't know what's in it. Because we don't know publishing wasn't nothing until it became something. So I'm like, okay, if I have this envelope, it's sealed, no one knows what's in it, but you're gonna pay me $100 for it. Nah, I'll keep it. And to this very day, I still own my publishing. I don't know, I just kept it. It sounds like something good to keep. So that's how I started with the music. It was just from school. It was from school and listening to horror stories.
And where did the vision come from to, and correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like, again, your music, like you had the kind of vision to get it beyond just New York. Like I said, it had the authenticity of New York, but each group, the branding of it seemed like you had a kind of vision to get it bigger than where it was.
Like I said, I'm from Queens. So we weren't, or they say we weren't hip enough. So when the Bronx was doing, all the styles came from the Bronx. We caught it afterwards. And I kind of wanted to go a little bit further. My musical influence was Prince, like Kwamé, definitely Stevie Wonder, and I love Michael Jackson. Right, Blake? Yes. Love Michael Jackson. But all those guys was international, all right? So I wanted to do something to leave New York, definitely, because my music was not hot in New York. It would be hot in DC, it'd be hot in LA, you know, but New York didn't give us no love. I didn't feel it. And the girls and them, they felt the same. We didn't get love from there. So we said, okay, let's go. The world is a big place. Let's do some pop music. And we were very familiar with pop music. You know, that's what we played. Was in a band before he became a rapper. So he was more musically inclined than I was. And so he didn't have no problem with that. Ron Lawrence also dabbled in keyboards. So all of us had musical backgrounds. And so we knew we could take it further. And so it just felt right. And when we were making records, they were just always leaned over to the pop side. Without us doing it on purpose, that's where it went. You know, nice hooks, gotta have a hook, boom, boom, a bridge. That's just the way records to us was made. So, just like that.
All right, guys, let me jump my brother Ron Lawrence in, because he's a special addition to the podcast. So Ron, I remember us talking before, And I asked you about the go-go influence and a lot of the music that Hurby put out. You know, a lot of trouble funk samples. You know, a lot of go-go, and we here in the capital of the home of go-go. So, talk to me about your part of that influence, or what go-go meant to you and Hurby and that whole history, briefly.
Well, shout out to HU, you know. Yeah. So yeah, I went to Howard. Came to Howard in 1986, surrounded by this music called go-go. That I don't want to say I absolutely didn't know anything about it, because the breakbeats had exposed us to it back in the day, like Trouble Funk, EU Freeze, Chuck Brown, the Cold Crush. You guys used to dance off of EU Freeze, right. Knock 'em Out, Sugar Ray, yeah. So those records, we were introduced to those. But coming to Howard University exposed me even more. And I would send records to Hurby. You know, I would send him go-go records. I was like, yo, check out this breakbeat, son, these are fucking beats. And right, exactly. So, and he would use them. And one of them ended up on, I think it was My Mic Sound Nice? The Word. I'll Take Your Man, yeah. And The Word also. So yeah, so that was my experience going to Howard, and you know, my contribution to, and plus they used to come down to Howard to visit me too. And have a ball. You know, they loved the girls and everything, and got exposed to go-go, and Hurby even started a group called Pleasure. A lot of people don't even know that Hurby was behind the female group Pleasure. That was his group. Yeah. So. Okay.
All right. Play, hold that mic. You hold on to that mic, because you and Kid have always had an obvious mainstream appeal as early as the video for Do This My Way. All right, the question is, was that natural for you guys? Now, I mean, I know, and most of us know, but was that natural for you, or were you guys groomed in that direction?
We come from a community of having fun. You know, prior to that, you know, I was out there in the streets. I was a cat that got kicked out of 5 high schools and thought people like Alpo and Fat Cat and all of them, and my father being a urban pharmaceutical engineer, I thought that was my destiny. And I give testimony that God literally used hip hop to save my life. So meeting people like Hurby, Ron, everyone that's up here on this thing, and I want to ask you a quick question. Isn't it amazing the influence you had on a bunch of Queens people?
I love it. As long as it's a positive influence, I love it. I love what came from it.
So anyway, what ended up happening was I was always relieved to have fun, and not have to look over my shoulder for something that I did to come back on me. So finding out that women liked guys who rapped, girls like guys who break dance and all of that, I'm like, hey, I can do that. So coming from this community and this group of having fun, when we came into the party, it was on. You know what I'm saying? It was over. You know what I'm saying? So all that did was it translated over into the recordings. Especially, I think one of the biggest things that was the DNA for Kid and Play was the authenticity of friendship. You could look at us and our interactions with each other, and you could see we weren't part of a casting call. You know what I'm saying? So we represented our people, Wiz, everybody from East Elmhurst, Queens, and Corona in the building. So that's what you saw, was us bringing that fun, that DNA, that character, all of that. And I think it resonated with a lot of people who enjoyed the same kind of relief. Like, we can have fun. It doesn't have to be anything but that at the time, at that moment in the party, and bringing that on records and visually. Visual was a big thing for us. I mean, it was something about Kid's hair that was just an attraction. So, you know, it worked, you know.
100%.
Hold on, we got a late pass. Dane pass. Dana, where's your late slip? AKA Africa Dane.
What up, Dane?
Dane. All right. So next question is for Sweet Tea. And it's ironic that you mentioned Sha Rock because I always loved your voice from Is My Beat. And I always thought you had a similar vocal tone to Sha Rock. So I think it's dope that that's who influenced you. Just wanted to say that piece. And I also wanted to ask you, how did growing up in Queens, if any way at all, how did that influence the kind of MC you became?
Well, Queens, first of all, Queens was dope. Like, movies were being made in Queens. I know some of it wasn't like the right kind of movies, but a lot of the hip hop influence came from Queens as well. A lot of style, LL, Run DMCs, a lot of style came from Queens, and it helped influence like some of the things we were thinking about, the things we were writing, like just how our whole beings. Like it was like you went out on Tuesday night and you were at the Encore, and you were living you was going to a movie every Tuesday, you know? Yeah, Lacey's Roller Rink. It was like we were putting on. It was productions going on in Queens. You know what I'm saying? Huh? Yeah. So we I think a lot of how I felt and came through in my music from my experiences moving around, going to block parties, going to Latin quarters, going to a lot of those places just helped like instill like that hip hop in me, you know? That was it was a dope time. It can't be repeated. It can never be repeated. You had to be there. And I'm sad for those who weren't there because it's only gonna happen once, and we did that. We did that. I just want to say one thing. Andre DeBorg, our engineer, Andre DeBorg is in the house. Andre, please. Stand up, Andre, please. Please. Andre DeBorg. Andre was the most patient, his insight on each one of us when we came in the studio. He was able to work with us, work with our personalities, Andre, and record things that we didn't know were being filmed and would end up on our songs. It would be just, so I'd be like, wait a minute, I didn't record that, but I didn't say that on the mic, but I said it on the mic, I guess. But he was so dope, and I swear to God that like part of me wouldn't be me in my recordings if it wasn't for Andre DeBorg.
Yeah. We call Lord.
We call Lord.
Hey, Kaz, I wanna jump on Wizard M in because he's also a addition to the podcast.
The Grand Wizard.
Grand Wizard M DJ for Kid and Play. So
What up?
Briefly, and I say briefly just because we got so many people, and I know this could be a long answer, but tell me about the history, little known history of the Turnout Brothers and you being the DJ for the Turnout Brothers. Talk about that.
Thank you, Jaquan. So I was the DJ for the Turnout Brothers, which encompassed my brother Ron Lawrence right here, Kid from Kid and Play. I was their DJ back in 1981, 1982. So we had our neighborhood crews, the Turnout Brothers. I was the DJ, Quicksilver and the Super Lovers, which was Play, Hurby, and 2 other members. So we were we were children in this game early, being influenced by brothers like the Grandmaster Kaz. Yeah, and big shout out to the world's famous Supreme Team, C Divine, Just a Lot of Superstar, who put my group on, the Turnout Brothers. He put us on back in 81 and 82 to be played on the radio. We were the biggest thing in Queens because of that, before Run DMC. Nobody knows that though, unless you were there. But we telling you right now, we got receipts. You know, we got flyers, we got audio recordings. We was doing our thing, you know? That's it.
All right, this is for Antoinette. Antoinette, we want you to speak on how I Got an Attitude came to be. and about the confusion regarding people thinking that you were the aggressor in the MC Light conflict.
Okay, I kind of alluded to I got an attitude when I was talking about being with the group and talking about one of the girls saying she had an attitude, and Fat Doug is up there. And he's the one that said to me, don't you have an attitude? And I was like, I got an attitude. And then we started working, and then we shot the demo, and Hurby heard it over at Next Plateau, and 2 months later, I was on Hurby's machine. So it happened really quick for me. And I was, very happy about that. I was very, very happy. And then one day, I was minding my business, very happy with my song, and I heard that there was someone who made a song about me for no reason. But several years later, it was, MC Light, and she made a song about me, and it was timing of when I actually responded to the song. I think that was the problem. Because normally, when somebody does something, you come back right away, right? I mean, you have to hit it. Timing is everything. And for me, with the management company I was with, the different people, I couldn't respond. My hands were tied. So I'm sitting there and I'm fuming because I'm a battle rapper, right? And to me, battling is on stage. It's you got a mic, I got a mic, and we do this. It's not really on the song, right? I mean, I grew up at a time where for me, what influenced me was the jams in the park, was the people grabbing the microphones, and everything was kind of live. And then being in an environment where you feel like you're in a straitjacket and you can't move, it's hard. So finally, when I had my first album, there was a song on there, Lights Out, Party's Over. And that seemed to be what people heard and thought that I was attacking MC Light, not realizing that MC Light attacked me. But what I can honestly say is that MC Light and myself, we never even met each other, so we didn't have a personal beef with one another. And it took 30 years before we even spoke. And when we spoke, we realized that, and I hate to say this, it was kind of males pegging us against each other when we didn't really have a problem with each other. And so, for like a lot of the ladies and stuff in hip hop today, that's why I say be real, be you. You know what I'm saying? And at the same time, pay attention to your sisters. Because it's important for us to stand together and come together and not be divided because there's only one girl allowed in the group.
All right. Dane.
Real quick. I just want to y'all know Method Man, right? So y'all know, I don't know which song it was where he alludes to Rock Wilder, where he like back when Antoinette had that attitude. Okay, that's who he was talking about. I just want to say that.
All right, Dane. Two-part question for you, Dane. First part, I remember seeing you on Soul Train. Of course, as many, I was a big fan of Soul Train. And JP, who's actually I guess his position would have been the manager of Idol Makers. He's out here somewhere. My good brother JP. Yeah, he told me some behind the scenes about that Soul Train episode. And I think Hurby, you were the DJ, his DJ at the time.
Clark Kent.
But you were on stage. That's what I mean, right? So two-part question: How was Don Cornelius to you? How was the show? Because that was an iconic show for all of us. And the other question is about Clark Kent, your DJ, the late Clark Kent. Tell me about the kind of man he was, kind of person he was, even back then as your DJ. But the first part is the Soul Train experience.
Shout out to JP. Got the original Dane t-shirt from the first Wipeout tour. 87, that's 87. But being on Soul Train was incredible. At the time, me and Hurby used to perform together all the time. It was like he was my right hand man on stage because we clicked as not only in the studio but as brothers. We were just rocking and we did a song together. It was the women. Yeah, we had something in common, the women. But and fashion though as well, you know what I mean, as well as fashion. Being on Soul Train was an incredible experience. Don Cornelius was a different type of character at the time, you know. He had built up this machine, as you could say. So I'm just a new artist coming on there, just happy to be there, you know. And he treated us well for the most part, you know. When we got on stage, he asked us a couple of questions, and he actually spoke to each one of us, which was really cool, you know. A lot of times he just speaks to the lead person, but he went around and spoke to everybody in the group, so I thought that was cool. But, you know, I had another run-in with the whole Soul Train thing with me and JP. I got nominated for a Soul Train Award that year as well, you know, against Heavy D, LL Cool J, a couple of others, I think Kool Moe Dee, but LL won it that year. So we went to the after party, me and JP, my manager, that I was nominated for, just me and him, and we get to the door, and Don Cornelius is there with his son, and like, yeah, you know, I got invited to the party, and he's like, okay, you can come in, but he can't. I said, he's my manager, it's just one person. He's like, no. So basically, I was from Fort Greene, Brooklyn, 21, so I cursed Don Cornelius and his son out, told him, F you, nobody gives a damn. Y'all ain't doing, this ain't about, I'm out. Yeah, I went off. I went total Fort Greene. I was ready. Right, JP, we was about to fight. But we just left, though. We left. And then look, the crazy thing is, when I left, I got in a limousine with Actor 7, the baby faces. He said, man, you can't let him get to you, bro. You got to be big in this moment, man, because you never know. I said, fuck him. Yeah, so, but now Clark Kent, just moving on to Clark Kent, I met Clark Kent in 1986 when I first went to perform for the first time, one of the first times at Washington Urban High School on 14th Street, Manhattan. And I didn't have a DJ at the time, actually, so he dropped the record for me. And all he did was drop the record Nightmares for me, and we went on about our business, but I could tell he was dope just watching him spin that night. So fast forward a year later, I needed a DJ, and I remembered him, and I reached out to him. So the thing about Clark is, man, he's a perfectionist, you know what I mean? I call him, because he's tall, you know, 6'4", 6'5", you know? I call him the Magic Johnson of the turntables, man, because he's tall and he got all the tricks. He's an incredible technician on the turntable. They give Jazzy Jeff, Cash Money, DJ Scratch, and Richie Rich, but Clark Kent is right there with them. He was right there with them in that regards, and then later on, he just became a great, just all-around DJ and a producer. And another funny story about Clark Kent is that he wanted to produce on my second album, which I should have let him, but I didn't know no better. But he had never produced anything. So me and Hurby looked at him like, not on this album. But then look, how big a mistake is that? He went on and produced the Troop joint. That could have been my beat, you know what I mean? So shout out to Clark Kent. He never let anything get him down. He always said, oh, you told me no? I'm gonna get it done this way over here. And that was always his character. So I love Clark Kent. And he always, you know, have a special place in my heart as a friend, as a DJ, and as hip hop. So I love the DJ Clark Kent.
All right, next question is for you, Kwamé. We want to know what influenced your fashion sense and style?
So it's like a triple answer. I'll try to be brief. The first answer is on the stage. So Play, Dana, and Hurby, y'all being like 14, 15 years older than me. No. No, but them being older, I looked at what they had on. Like, for example, Dana, the first time I saw you perform was at this roller skating rink in our neighborhood called United Skates of America. And I know exactly what Dana had on to the T, like right now, because Dana used to put it together so dope. Play put it together so dope. Hurby put it together so dope. And it wasn't about outside of MCM. I think we was just all into MCM before anybody even knew what MCM was. But like even on my first album cover, I got Hurby's MCM wallet. Like I'm flossing like my own, but it was really his. But like with the jewelry, the clothes, and everything, I definitely looked at them. And it wasn't about brand names. We would just find stuff. We would go into the village, we would go to thrift stores, or whatever. We would find stuff and create a style of our own. Now, me just personally, I was always into dressing up. You know what I'm saying? I was never the street clothes guy. I was always into like whether it was bally shoes or British Walkers or Playboys, whatever it was. That was my thing as a kid, just in general. And other artist influence, man, Morris Day in the time, man. Like I would look at Morris Day and be like, yo, man, if I could just rap and look like Morris Day, I'm good. That was my thing right there. So all of those influences.
All right. All right, Hurby, talk to me about a lot of people don't know. They know you were a producer, but they don't know you was a button pushing, chop and sample producer. I've talked to you before about your history with, digging in the crates and being a record digger, but talk to the people that may not know, just how extensive your history was with digging for breaks and actually, being a hands-on producer.
Well, first I want to say thank you to Marley Marl, because Marley is the first person, exactly. Marley's the first person to introduce me to a sampler, and I'm going to tell you something. When he showed me, it was this little box called the Instant Replay. Remember, Ron? When he showed me that, I said, what are you going to do with that? He said, I'm going to take this big beat jump sound. Like, yeah, okay, so how does that work? He said, just stick this thing in here. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm rich. Yo, something just blew up in my mind. Like, yo, do you know what I can do with this shit right here? So, Marley Marl is the one that started it. And that's where I first saw it. And I used to go to Ronnie's house, raided his brother's record collection. There was some girls around the way that had some records. If you had records, I was there. And another thing, and me and Ron was talking about, another person that a lot of people didn't give a lot of due to is a guy from Downstairs Records, Cass Elroy. Right, Elroy had every break beat that before Super Disco Breaks or Octopus Jams came out. This guy, I remember going to Elroy, and he said, yo, you want to hear something? Yeah, what you got? Yo, this, so he threw on telephone jam without the bell. You know what I'm talking about, right? So people like that, that's where it first came from. And then later, when when technology got better, then the SB 1200, SB12, and then the 1200, and the Akai.
DMX, don't forget the DMX.
DMX was in the sample, but yeah, DMX was the shit. That's the shakers. That's your thing. That's the shakers. DMX had the crazy shakers. So I wasn't a musician. I didn't play any instrument, but I could play the hell out of a sampler though. I'll take a sampler and do all kinds of things with it. And I created a lot of different things with the help of Andre DeBorg, the record lord. We would do things, Patrick Adams and Andre DeBorg were the two people, engineers, who did everything for me. We would do things that, it was incredible. I can't even explain it. These are secrets. We had secrets.
I know you got a vast discography, but your favorite 3 productions that you did?
Rolling with Kid and Play. Send the Fella Dane. See, those are the records that just pop, pop. We went to see Tougher Than Leather. We stopped the session, went to see Tougher Than Leather, was upset at Tougher Than Leather because
Yes,
we
we all
didn't like it. And we said, let's finish this record and make a hit. And that's how Rolling with Kid and Play came along. Dane and Dane's record, it was easy. I don't know. That loop was just a bomb.
We
The
were
monster.
looking for that song for a long time.
Right. Dane and Dane, we couldn't find.
We was on the last, we were looking for the right song, and then you said, I got it, Dane, and you dropped that joint, and it was over.
And it was it. It
That's
worked.
it.
And so the third record is probably gonna be Push It, which Dana and Kid and Play was responsible for this record being made. Real quick story. I'll push it. We're performing in New Orleans, right? With the Two Live crew and this other MC named MC Shadi. Right? So we're doing the show, Salt Pepper Kid Play at the end of the day, and we think we're the shit, we're gonna kill everybody. So we finished the show. First of all, we were the openers. That was like, why are we opening for these guys? When these guys got on, they crushed the place. Shadi. I'm like, what the hell is going on? We was upset. Because we're coming back from Melly Mel, Run DMC, Matt Cass, we're in New York. And these guys are shaking. Shake it. Didn't get it. So we were pissed. We were mad, but we were jealous that they were getting so much love. And Dana was mad. And Dana came to me and said, yo, Hurby, man, you could do these records. I said, I wouldn't do these records. They're corny. What the hell I want to do this record for? And Play said, what'd you say, Play? You told me, you said, go ahead and do this shit.
You said to me, watch, I'm gonna make one of these records. Watch, wait till we get back to New York.
And that's about it. So we went back to New York, me and my younger brother. We thought, we came with some beats, came Kraftwerk, which is what that beat came from. And he started writing some stuff. He was what we thought was hot back in the days, some real street shit. I'm like, no, it's gotta be corny it down. Like, yo, baby. Yeah, exactly. You gotta write stuff that we would never say. And this is how Push It was a joke. It was a dare.
Yeah, it was a dare and a joke, yeah.
It was a dare and a joke.
That shit worked like hell, though. Let me tell you something. The original sample from the song "Push It" is from a breakbeat by a group called Cold Kitchen. All right, and it was called "Push It," but it was on 33, and it was real slow on 33. It's like push it. And I don't know who it was, Theodore Flash, one of them, put that shit on 45, and that shit go, push it, and y'all just fed off that motherfucker and turned it into a monster.
Yo, Cash, you gonna get me in trouble, man.
Now you turned it into a monster, and I'm gonna tell it. Okay, and am I the only one? Well, I didn't think this. I didn't, because I know where the breakbeat comes from. I had it. I knew what it was when it came out. But everybody, did you get the same reaction when the song came out? Did people think that it was saying, pussy?
Yeah, we got in trouble for that. And we was in the Carolinas, somewhere in the Bible Belt, and the police was waiting for us backstage. And JP had to run, the manager had to run, find the record to show them this. It said, push it. And not pussy's good. And yeah, we had a problem with that record. The Bible Belt didn't like that song.
I know a lot of people was like, pussy good. Oh.
But guys, very few people knew that Cold Kitchen record.
I did though.
You know? Very few people knew that record. Yeah, that's where it came from, exactly.
No doubt.
All right, question for Sweet Tea. You had a nice run of singles right before, Tea Time came out. A few classics. Out of all of your discography, which ones are your favorite? Top three.
My top three, number one being It's My Beat.
Yes, indeed.
I Got the Feeling. And there's a record that's on It's Tea Time that people might not have heard, but it's called As the Beat Goes On. And it was like a playoff for It's My Beat. Like, I love drums. I love funky drummer especially. And so I made a, I remixed it and did like remember As the Beat Goes On, Hurby? Yeah. So that was like my third favorite record off the album. So.
I even thought the Christmas joint, like the Jingle Bells Rock joint. But
But I mean, that was definitely a good song. I was happy to make a Christmas song.
You know, a lot of people don't know this, but when I was working with T, she would come up with the beats. I would just put them together. I remember you came to me and said, doom, 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 doom. Like, what the hell is that, right? And I had to play it. And I'm not a keyboard player, but I had to play it. And we threw funky drummer behind it.
Yes.
And this was all her idea, so she should get executive producer, co-producer, production.
I just want to add to that real quick, and I say it in the induction speech. I will say it later. That year '86 was what really kicked off what people call the golden era, and it was mainly because of sample. But I don't know who was first, but I know it was either It's My Beat or Kool G Rap Is a Demo was the first to really kick off people using funky drummer. Then after that, Kwamé said Sweet Tea was first.
I think Do the James by Castle Rudd.
But they used a piece to President.
They use it after me? She used it first?
It was either G-Rap or Sweet Tea. Either way, everybody started sampling.
But I'm gonna tell you what, when It's My Beat came out, and then I heard Kool G Rap's record, I got like nervous for a minute until I realized I write this room for both of us. So I was like, oh my God, because I love Kool G Rap's record as well.
Of course.
I thought the same thing when James came out and had anything with James and the president. I was like, oh man.
Right.
Some of those, not some, but most of those beats, I mean, they're universal. They come from the foundation of this culture, and they can be used over and over again. It's just like movies. How many Batman movies have they made? You know why? Because every generation there's a new producer, there's a new director, there's a new writer that says, if I made Batman, I would make it like this. And that's why they keep making Batmans, all right? The beats is the same way. The beats are constantly being recycled. And some do better with them than others. Let's just say that.
That's true.
Where are we?
14.
Okay. Antoinette, how was being compared to Rakim? How was it being compared to Rakim, according to Big Daddy Kane?
And recording with Big Daddy.
And recording with Big Daddy Kane.
Okay. First, I'll talk about recording with Big Daddy Kane. That just happened. Like, we just went to Marley's house one day, and we was just there chilling, and he threw on a beat, and we did that promo for them. So it wasn't something that we got together and said we're going to make a record. It was just something that just happened. So that's how Raw Attitude came to be. And your other question was about being compared to Rakim. And I'll be honest with you, I count it an honor and a privilege to be compared to Rakim. Rakim was one of my favorite male artists ever. Okay, completely awesome to me. And just the mere sheer fact that people would mention my name, right? And for him to, he wanted to do a record with me, and for him to want to do a record with me meant the world to me. Because at that time, they always had male and female artists. And they compared females to other females. But I was able to break that barrier. And so to me, it was an honor and it was a respect. And I truly appreciated it. And I'm so grateful for that.
I want to add something to that.
All right. I got a question for Wizard and me, and Play if you wanna chime in. So, the early '90s was just an incredible run for Kid and Play. I mean, you dropped the album in the early '90s. You had a cartoon, you had a comic book. In addition to being on whatever was hot at the time, Arsenio, whatever it was at the time, every week. Was that a time of pressure for you guys? Because this is before, today everybody got an endorsement deal, whatever, but, outside of Hammer and people like that, I mean, to have a cartoon and a comic book running at the same time and the records. What was the pressure like? You don't want to answer me. Okay, you got it. What was the pressure like at that time, if any?
it wasn't any pressure for me. I was enjoying the journey. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't really paying attention to whatever anybody had to say. I know there's that ugly thing in it about selling out or, you know, going pop or whatever the case may be, but I never really paid attention to that because I was just enjoying the journey. And then it's interesting because with Kid and I and Wiz, being involved or bearing witness to such defining moments in hip hop. When you watch that Straight Outta Compton movie, the story of NWA, that concert they did, Kid and I and Wiz was on that concert. And I think Darryl Brooks is in the building. If he is, shout out. I want to shout out my man Dana Mosley in the building. But what ended up happening was that when they pitched the idea, it's a funny story behind that. When we were on like nonstop tours with Public Enemy. We was on like every one of their tours. And when it was time on the last tour, the last date, I was approached by Darryl Brooks about doing a run with Kid and Play, NWA, Public Enemy. Now, at that time, I cursed with the best of them. But NWA, I mean, like, yo, you know what I'm saying? I got parents I got to report to eventually at home and home life, you know, good home training, but I wasn't really with it. So anyway, prior to Darryl Brooks approaching me with that pitch, I'd come down, you come down to the lobby, see who's in the lobby, the women, and I just wanted to get with someone, that sounds kind of bad and desperate. But anyway, I just wanted to find someone. So anyway, I wanted my favorite drink, which was a pina colada, virgin pina colada. Came to the bar. Evidently, the bartender was pissed. He wasn't making any more drinks. His thing was over. So I put myself positioned in the light so he could see I'm Play from Kid and Play and get this drink going. I don't care who you are. No, I'm done for the evening. I'm like, oh well. So Darryl Brooks comes and pitches me this idea. I'm like, no. So I keep saying no, but I didn't want to be uncooperative. So I said, you know what, Darryl? Give me a pina colada and I'll do the date. I knew he wasn't going to get it because this guy wasn't having it. Well, not only did he come back with one pina colada, he came back with 2 pina coladas. So that's how we ended up doing this tour with NWA on it. But the reason why they wanted Kid and Play to be on that tour was because to put NWA and Public Enemy together, they could only imagine the chaos that would be in the audience. So by putting groups like Digital Underground, Kid and Play on it to bring a balance, that was the politics that made it happen. So at that time, we became great friends with NWA. Also, that was a time when Digital Underground was on there. We had great times of antics with Tupac when he was a dancer with them. There was all kinds of things that people aren't aware of, and some you are, that we were a part of defining moments in hip hop, where if you wanted to call it whatever you wanted to call it, we helped innovate the culture, to promote the culture out there. So I didn't really feel a pressure. My thing at the time was doing what I needed to do and having a good time with my friends and us just having the time of our lives and not turning down any money, and all of that. And that's what's up. Wiz, how did you feel, my brethren?
No, I was trying to jump in real quick. On that tour, a lot of people got to understand when we were on that tour, you forgot to say me, but that's fine.
Yeah, he was on the tour.
Mess with you. When we were on that tour, the cops would come. First of all, we couldn't give our names at all in any city because of the police. The cops would come backstage and they would warn us about the language of NWA and Eazy-E, and they would arrest anybody who used the language. So Kid and Play were the guinea pigs almost. Remember, Eazy and them would make y'all go last because Eazy and them would do all the crazy stuff. So when the cops rushed the stage, Kid and Play would go on stage and be the blanket while Eazy and the rest of NWA would run through the crowd. So that was another good part about that tour.
What was funny is on the Getting Funky, we go, don't even mess with me, we're getting funky. But when we did the show live, we would go, don't even fuck with me, we're getting funky. But when it was time to go to one of those states where they were gonna arrest you if you cursed, we cowered. We said, don't even mess with us, we're getting funky. So the whole tour, NWA, whenever Eazy-E would walk by us, Dr. Dre, whatever, they would tease us, go, don't even mess with me, we're getting funky.
Hey, real
Well,
quick.
hold on.
Real quick. Hey, Wiz, real quick. Before you start, let me just say this real briefly. When I said when I said pressure, I didn't mean pressure as far as being labeled a sellout. I mean pressure as having so much work. You know, because I forgot, you had a movie, and I think y'all dropped Face today. You dropped the album, movie, comic, and cartoon, all within, you know, a 1 or 2 year period. So I meant pressure from, we got a lot of stuff to do, is how do you handle that?
Yeah, it was our team. Sweet Tea was just sharing. The Idol Makers team was a machine. Again, a lot of this was first. Play said it, we have a lot of hip hop first, where if it wasn't for this configuration, a lot of things would not have happened for other groups going forward. You know, if it wasn't for House Party being a successful movie, a lot of those movies after wouldn't even exist. House Party broke down the doors, the first real profitable hip hop movie. So, you know, big business, Hollywood, cartoons, Marvel Comics. Oh God, I can't believe I'm in a Marvel comic book, boy. That's it. I'm good. I'm good. Like my man Ron was making fun of me yesterday. He's like, Wiz Comics. Wiz was the man. I had a huge comic collection, all Marvel. So when we got that opportunity and I see my face on a Marvel comic, immortalized forever. Can't nobody say nothing to me. I don't care.
That's right. And it's so funny because all of this started, and as the Lord says, do not despise small beginnings. All of this started in an attic. We used to sneak up in Hurby's house in the attic, and that's where all of this started. So that's why it was called Noise in the Attic. But all of it started in an attic.
That's what's up. Back to you, Kwame. All right, and this is our final question for our panelists. Kwame, how did you transition into production for other artists? And what was your first big production outside of your own music?
Well, transitioning into production, I never really understood what a quote-unquote producer was. I gotta give 3 super special shout-outs because the 3 people that are responsible for me as a producer are in this room. So first you get Hurby. You know, Hurby is the first person that I ever knew, met, or ever witnessed being a producer. And I think when I did my first album, Hurby was super busy. It was Salt and Pepper, it was Kid and Play, it was Sweet Tea. So for me, even though I already had the album pretty much done in a demo form, being in the studio, I wanted, you know, I'm sitting around waiting for Hurby to show up, and Hurby would come through, but this is a busy man. So for me, I'm learning, as I'm watching, and I'm learning the craft, and then I'm completing an album based on that. You know, so Hurby is the blueprint, like seriously, like my 1,000% blueprint. Then Dana is a guy named Dana Mosey is in this room. Dana, I don't know where you at. Dana right there. Now Dana, come to the front for a second. Dana, like, Hurby, I don't know if you knew this, but Steve would let me, when you would go on tour, he would let me in your room and I would steal your drum machines and stuff. And I would learn how to use the 808, the SP12, the DX. I would have it at my grandmother's house and then bring it back to your room before you came. But anyway, when I got the MPC 60, Dana came to my house and showed me how to make beats on the MPC 60. And Dana was the one that helped me with that battery, because I'm a Nakai MPC dude from that point. So Dana, you know, if I never publicly thanked you, I'm publicly thanking you now, because Dana was the one who taught me. And I don't know if I was a good student or not, because he kept showing me, no, you gotta do it like this. But this button? No, that button. I'm like, so thank you, Dana. And then when the rap career went low, Ron Lawrence, we lived on the same block in Queens. Ron Lawrence came, and when no one believed in me, Ron did. And Ron came and was like, these beats are dope. We can sell these beats. And I'm like, what you talking about, Ron? And I would give Ron these beat CDs, and he was like, no, we can sell these beats. And I just remember like just being in bed. I had a 1-bedroom apartment in Harlem, no money. You know what I'm saying? My rent was $420. I had a hookup. And I'm trying to think, I had publishing money coming in, but there was no real thing. And Ron called me the first thing in the morning, and he was like, yo, we got two. I'm like, two? Yeah, we got LL Cool J and Mary J. Blige. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, no, we got two. So, no, LL Cool J, we got 3 on LL Cool J and 1 on Mary J. Blige. That was my reintroduction back in because Ron believed in it. Ron, matter of fact, I was trying to do a rap group. And Ron believed in the rap group. We went to Hurby's house and we recorded these rap records. And Ron was like, nah, man, you can sell these beats. You worrying about rhyming, you can sell these beats. And Ron put the jet fuel in my backpack, man, like for real. Yeah, and he, when we was joking around, I was like a machine with these beats, K1 mil, and we went and we were knocking them off sales-wise. And then from there, I just sprouted out and just continued to do it. But the people that are responsible for me are here, right here. And I can't think of it.
I want to say something. Let me say something. I got to tell you, out of all the groups that I worked with and produced, Kwamé's probably the only one that I didn't produce like I produced others. Kwamé would come up with whatever he come up with, and I'm like, okay, good, yeah, good. Let's get this money. 1 2 1 2. I wanted to say that Kwamé is probably one of the only groups that I produced, got credit for producing, but I didn't produce like I did the other groups. Kwamé would come up with his work done. All I had to do was put a little polish on it, mix it, and then take it down to Sylvia. This is something that Kwamé, I gotta say, thank you for. He was easy to work with. I didn't do nothing.
But at the same time, we're giving our accolades. But at the same time, Herb, what you taught me, for me, yeah, I may have come with the songs and everything like that. But listening to Hurby, he understood how to make the idea into what would become a classic. You understand? And that is the true definition of a producer. When you look at people like Quincy Jones and stuff, Quincy may not have been in there playing the flute or the guitar or whatever, but he knew how to put it together. And Hurby is the greatest at that. And that, you gotta understand, learning that, seeing that, being witness to that, being a part of that, listening to the direction. Because for example, my record, The Rhythm, when I made The Rhythm, when I first did The Rhythm, I turned the whole record in, but I'm rapping like I'm trying to kill somebody. Okay, man, so fucking. And Hurby's like, yo, man, will you chill the hell out? And I'm, what I'm saying, and guided me and showed me just how to be me and how to just chill out, lay back, and express myself.
I want to add something to that, what Kwamé just said. A lot of people don't understand exactly what the word producer is. They think you're the guy that comes in there and play music, and no. That's not what a producer is. To me, a producer is the person that gets the finished product finished, however it needs to get there. If Quincy Jones pull one of the other guys that writes, Rod Templeton, right? He came in and wrote probably Thriller. Quincy didn't do that. Then the other kid from Toto was playing the keyboards. Quincy didn't do that, but Quincy is the orchestrator. He's the conductor. He didn't play an instrument, and I don't play any instruments. But when I hear a great record or a great idea, I'm like, whoa, hey, let's do that. Kwamé, you need to smooth that down and say it this way instead of that way. That is what we did, and that's how we respected each other's role. Sometimes Play would have to play the producer because I didn't hear it. I don't hear it. Kid came up with the chorus to Kid and Play, rolling with Kid and Play. I don't know where they got that from, but okay, let's do it. And producing, a producer has a lot of hats, but it's not always hands-on. I give a lot of credit to Puffy, AKA, what does he call himself? Yeah, Diddy Love, right. Yeah, Sean Combs is one of those producers. He's got an ear. You know, he hears things. I don't know if he can. Can he use a drum machine, Ron? Okay, sorry. No.
I want to.
But there you go.
Hey, let me say something real quick about Ron Lawrence.
I just wanted to say one thing to Hurby too, is that I appreciate everything that you've done for me and helping me with my career. I would come to the studio, very New York type of rhymes, New York, you know, and he would say, Toy, there's a whole world out there. He said, there's a world outside of New York, and he said, and I want you to embody that in the records that we're making. And he helped groom me as well, and I want to thank you so much for that, Hurby.
I want to say, I made Hurby the producer he is, all right? And you know how I did it? Because I was the hardest one that he had to work with.
No, but Kaz, to finish your question, I'm sorry, we went on this love fest up here, but also you asked me about the first thing. The first artist I ever worked with outside of just like myself or whatever is sitting right here, Antoinette. You know, I'm 14 years old, and she allowed me to come in, and we did a record together. And she is the first record. We had a record called Baby Make It Boom. And it was the first record I ever had a production credit on, a writing credit on. They spelled my name all the way wrong. Like, my name is Kwame, and I think on her record it was Quimie. She had like the wildest manager, and it's not her fault or anything, but she was the one that gave me a shot outside of the collective, you know, like the immediate collective. She gave me a shot, so, you know, thank you for that as well.
Hey, in closing, real quick, I want to say something about Ron Lawrence because he's the only one here that people don't know as an artist, but as a producer, he was.
They should.
They about to. So, as a producer, he was part of the Invincibles, right, with Hurby. Part of Puffy's Hitmen, but he's also Amin Ra of Two Kings and a Cypher. You know, he's done so much in music. You know, we already said that he produced Hypnotize for Biggie. So many other hits that he produced. But he's also, when you see these AI videos that are floating around social media that's taking you back to, you know, to the disco fever and talking about the flat top and the earrings and, you know, all of the culture of New York and of hip hop. This is the man behind those videos.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's Ron Lawrence, my man.
So I just want to say, you know, thanks a lot, but you know, the spotlight is really on Hurby Love Bug today, and I want to say, you know, before Diddy, before Teddy Riley, before all of that, we used to watch those videos, and we used to see Hurby Love Bug next to his artists, right? And I remember starting with Salt and Pepper at Super Nature, these young ladies, they were young. They didn't know how to maneuver on stage. Hurby had to hold their hand. Hurby had to get on stage with them and literally be the third person on the stage with them. And that became, you know, a staple for him. And it moved on into the videos, and then it went into the other artists. So we got to see Hurby Love Bug, the producer, in videos with all of his artists. And I even remember Hurby coming on stage with a drum machine. I mean, nobody was doing that at the time. You know, we came to Howard University with Dane and the drum machine. Remember that thing? Yeah. So, right. So now you see, then he had the Invincibles. Later on, you had Eddie After the Untouchables. And then you have Puff Daddy and the Hitmen. But it was this man who started the blueprint. He's the one who paved the way for the Teddy Rileys and everybody else to be in the videos with their artists. Hurby Love Bug.
Give it up, y'all. Give it up. Make some noise up in here for our entire panel. Hurby Lovebug, Dane, Play, Ron Lawrence, DJ Wiz, Sweet Tea, Antoinette, and Kwamé. Come on, give it up.